How's it going, everyone? My name is Joshua Bowman, and this is my video analysis essay on Nosferatu. In the clip I'm going to be discussing, it's around 31 minutes into the movie, and Thomas Hutter has made it to the suspicious castle and is about to be slaughtered by Count Orlok. But in this clip, we see Ellen, Thomas's wife, intervene with Count Orlok's slaughtering by means of apparition, is what I want to call it. So enjoy this clip. Wow, what a beautiful scene. And the reason why I chose this scene in particular is because I think it perfectly encapsulates German Expressionism. From its lighting to its editing, all the way to its acting. I think if we numb it down to its roots, this scene really does include every bit of new that German Expressionism brought to filmmaking. With lighting, especially in German Expressionism, I think that a lot of people are drawn to the intensity brought by Count Orlok's lighting. And while I do think that it was very successful and very valuable for the film, I want to talk about something a little more subtle and nuanced that I noticed within this film that still encapsulates German Expressionism. In this scene, there's a moment where Ellen Hutter wakes up from her slumber, and I think that the use of lighting here was absolutely stunning and nuanced, because as she arises from her slumber, she's almost in shadow, as if she's confused, and the lighting kind of represents confusion. And the closer she gets to the edge of the bed where the light would finally hit her face, the more we see her eyes, the more we see her intensity, and the more we see that she is having an apparition. And I think that this gradual shift in lighting here is a great way of showing and expressing a person and how they feel. And I think that it perfectly expressed how Ellen was feeling in this specific moment. Another thing this scene utilized out of the German Expressionist box is the editorial elements. I think that this scene did a really good job of placing these two characters, Ellen and Count Orlok, in the same space, even though we know that they are not even near each other in terms of nautical miles. I think that the use of eyeline placement and consistency, which are newer things for the filmmaking area, especially if you look at films before this and after, the believability of Ellen seeing this happening in front of her eyes and then obviously collapsing into her friend's arms once she relaxes and once he leaves. The fluidity and consistency of this scene is perfectly executed through the editorial elements. The cutting from back to forth, the lighting, where the lighting is coming from as well is used. But I think another thing that was beautiful was the eyeline placement. We saw Ellen seeing this Count Orlok, and then we saw him actually seeing her as well. The final thing that I'm going to talk about in terms of German Expressionism for this scene is, in fact, acting. I am an acting major at SCAD, so I wanted to touch on this a little bit, and I think that this scene has a beautiful representation of how German Expressionism utilized nuances in acting that we haven't seen in other period films of this time. Before we talk about this specific scene, I want to give a quick shout out to this whole entire movie, because I did mime troupe for about 4 years in high school, and I had to work with that idea of showing how you feel without using words. And I think that these actors did an outstanding job in terms of really pushing specific emotions through their facial expressions. And I think that that is something that German Expressionism actually brought to acting and brought to the film industry, is this idea that we are able to fully, truly represent not only very vague emotions, but specific emotions through the use of our facial expressions. Some of these shots, some of these stills in here are absolutely stunning. I particularly love this one because it really shows a difference in the two characters. This one shows how she is confused and scared for her husband. This one shows how comfortable they feel with each other. Now, the particular moment that I wanted to talk about in terms of this scene happens at the end, after Count Orlok has left her husband alone and she can finally rest. Just in this still, you can see so many different relationships happening. Her friend to the left, who is gentle and looks at her with almost a kind eye, the doctor, who is almost examining her, and the man behind her, who is just genuinely worried. Every single character is portraying a different emotion without saying a single word, and that, my friends, is something near impossible to do as an actor. The final moment that I want to highlight is this moment in particular. I want you to ask yourself, who has the question and who has the answer? Now, I think it is overtly obvious who has the question. The doctor is seen stern, his face is very stoic, and he looks like he knows something. And this man to the left in the nightgown has just seen Ellen almost kill herself, and he saw the full hysterical moment that she had. So he is coming from a place of absolute fear, and you can see it in their eyes. And I saw the whole film, and this moment in particular, the subtlety that these two actors brought and the honesty of German Expressionism in this moment really, really stood out to me. I also wanted to acknowledge how one of my favorite films, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, really utilizes some of the stuff that German Expressionism brought to cinema, and specifically even this film in general. I noticed a lot of very intense lighting, set design, things that would place the character in realities where they might not actually be. They used the dream world a lot, and they used eye lighting and face lighting heavily in this film, just like Nosferatu did, and just like German Expressionism did in general. Thank you guys so much for watching my video analysis. I hope that it's given you a few things to think about. I'd like to shout out F.W. Murnau, the creator of Nosferatu, for giving us so many tools that we can use in our films, even in our artistry, to push us to the next level, push us forward, and I hope that we can continue to evolve our industry that we call film.